All right, we are here. Welcome to Sessions with Sam. What a crazy night it's been. I'm in Colorado, just so you know, and looking out my window, we've got roughly, I'd say maybe on the fence, it's stacked up to about 10 or 12 inches of snow, and it's still snowing. And we lost our electricity last night, so it's been like a woohoo crazy night. So glad you are here to join me. I'm glad we're able to do this. When I woke up this morning, we had no electricity. I thought I was going to have to cancel. And I actually sent out, and Mr. Rob Sutter stepped up and said, "Hey, I'll take it if you can't." So that was really cool of him to offer. But I am here, so heads up, if I just go blank, that means that my power went out. So we'll see what happens here. But I'm glad you're here. Sessions with Sam. I hope you're home. I hope you're safe. I know, Rob, I know you got me. So, all right, let's get started on what we're going to be talking about today. So today we're going to be talking about Amazon Kinesis. Let me bring up my screen so you can see this. If that happens, Rob will continue the session in the form of interpretive dance, or I think it would be better if just Twitch went down entirely. So if you had your options. So we have a lot to cover, so I'm going to jump here. We're going to be talking about Amazon Kinesis. If you're not familiar with the Amazon Kinesis, it easily collects, processes, and analyzes video and data streams in real time. Yeah, I just read that. Yeah, I'm cheating. I read that right from the website. But the idea here is it allows you to do massive amounts of data and do real-time analytics on it. And there's a couple of options you can go. There's Kinesis data streams. There's Kinesis Firehose. There's Kinesis video streams. So you have a lot of different choices. Thanks, Rob, for posting that link. So we've got that in there, and this is what I'm looking at. Today, we're going to concentrate mainly on Kinesis Firehose. I got my Diet Dr. Pepper. Do you? All right. So, I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. So when we're looking at it, and if you notice, I'm an API Gateway guy. I talk about API Gateway a lot. And with API Gateway, you have the ability to stream your logs to Kinesis. So you can do some real-time analysis on it. And the way this works is we use Kinesis Firehose. Okay, so the difference between Kinesis data streams and Firehose, there's quite a few. Some of the major ones is with Kinesis data streams, you actually say how many shards you want. It's done by sharding technology. So you can say, look, I'm going to have 6 shards, 1 shard, 2 shards, and these handle a certain amount of data each. And you can look at the website to get the actual data on what they handle. With Firehose, it's gonna grow and shrink to meet your demand, so it's a little more dynamic. But with data streams, you can attach a lot of different things to do a lot of real-time processing. Firehose, you can do some processing, but not quite as much. It's more of a, hey, let me get you from point A to point B. But let me walk through this, and we'll set this up, kind of see what I'm talking about. So, and what do we build everything in? We build everything in SAMs. This is an infrastructure as code session, so let's jump in. So we're going to do our example here. Let's open our template. And if you're looking for this repo, I do have it. I'm going to add it real quick here so you can see that. I've lost my mouse. There it is. So if you're looking for the repo, I keep the whole repo here. And it is the Sessions with Sam repo, and it's got all these that I've done: EventBridge, HTTP API, and all the other ones. So Cognito, and kind of explains how to do them. So just so you have that, there you go. All right, so we always start out our template with our, we tell it what template format version we're doing in our transform, and here's our description, which is Kinesis. Actually, we're going to do Kinesis Firehose. All righty. Okay, it is a good session. Man, I haven't even started. It's a good session. That's exciting. All right, so, and then we're going to start building out our resources. Now, as I explained before, I am not going to type in front of you because even though I've got one finger, I am the worst fat finger guy in the world. I just hit all the, so it's better for me to copy and paste. It saves a lot of pain. If you go back and watch the very first episode, you'll understand. So, yes, here we go. All right, says exotic male escort. Okay, all righty. So you often wonder if people just make up names to troll me here. So Major Spanker and exotic male escort. All right. So for the first resource we're going to do, let's go ahead and add our Firehose. Now let me explain why we're doing Firehose instead of Kinesis data streams. With API Gateway, you can actually say, point my access logs to a Firehose, right? So what that means is it'll just start, as you get access logs coming in, it'll point right at a Firehose. And then you can do some work with it. So let me talk through what I'm building out here. Okay, so first of all, we're going to need a couple of buckets. So let me go ahead and drop these in real quick. I have 2 buckets that I'm going to put in, okay, because we want to do a couple of things. The first one I'm going to put in is a raw data bucket. Let me line up my YAML or we'll just, be unhappy entirely. Okay. Alrighty. So the second one I'm going to do is a process data bucket. Now the idea here is my Firehose is going to bring in the data, and the first thing it's going to do is I can attach a processor. Now I don't want to attach a bunch of things to it, but I can attach a processor, and what will happen is Kinesis will buffer the data, flow the data out to my processor. In this case it's going to be a Lambda, and actually that's the only one you can use, and the Lambda does some processing and reinserts it back into the stream. We're going to take advantage of this, and we're going to, instead of processing the data, we're just going to take what it gives us and put it back in the stream, but we're also going to take that data and pump it out to a DynamoDB table. Okay, so let me set up a couple things so we can do that. Oh my goodness, guys, thank you so much for saying that. How about that? Is that better? I'm so sorry. So now you can see the code. I'll even blow it up a little bit. That was really embarrassing. I think we'll start all over. For Foxray Man, I appreciate you pointing that out. Can you see the code now? And we'll just wait a second to make sure that we've got this. Yay! Okay, good. All right, so let me walk back here. Here's our, we declare this as a template in our transform. We're putting in some resources. I've got a raw data bucket that I'm gonna put stuff in. I'm gonna process data bucket. This is gonna create 2 S3 buckets, okay? Then I've got my Firehose, and I'll walk through the different steps of this Firehose in a few moments. We need a couple of more things, okay? Let's go ahead, since we're going to refer to our process function, let's go ahead and drop this in as well. And I think it's easier. I'm going to kind of put them in so you can see it, and then we'll talk through it a little bit. Okay, and then we need our role, okay? So this is our Firehose access role. So this is going to give our Firehose some different access that we need to do the different things. And you'll see it's pretty granular when I pop it in here. Make sure we have no questions going on while that's going here. Now let me fix the, oh, I love this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. All right. So first thing we're going to do in our Firehose access, or in our Firehose, a couple things. Let's just walk through it. For my delivery stream type, I'm doing a direct put. Now, this is going to allow data to do this. The reason I put direct put is we're going to mock some API gateway data. We're actually going to flood it in a little bit using the Kinesis data generator, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. So we need direct put to put that in. And then for my destination, I'm using the extended S3 destination configuration. If you're doing this later, you'll see that there's also just an S3 destination configuration. You want to use the extended. The S3 is deprecated. The extended gives us a little more functionality. For instance, a processor, and we want to use a processor. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to, first of all, when we go to the bucket, we give it a bucket ARN, which you'll notice is my processing data ARN. And then I'm going to tell it to gzip it up. And then I need to give it a role. I need to give it some permissions to do everything that has to be there. Alrighty. The next thing I'm going to do is my processing configuration. Well, I want it to be on. So this is kind of handy. I can turn it on and off as I need. Here's my processors. I'm going to actually take this link and kind of so you can see it. I'll post it here. I keep it here just so if I need to refer back to it. But that kind of talks about how the processors work. So I'm going to do a Lambda. Now this is kind of interesting. Usually when we're doing serverless event-driven architecture, we're going to add the event to our Lambda. But in this case, we're actually going to, Firehose will call Lambda itself. And it calls it, here's interesting, it's an asynchronous pattern because the data is getting pushed to Firehose and then it does an asynchronous, and then but it calls the Lambda service synchronously. So it's asynchronous, and then we're going through Firehose, but it calls the service synchronously. That's important to understand. So you have a synchronous process that's happening here. Now, it will retry up to 3 or 4 times. If you need it to do more than that, and you want more control, and you want to attach more lambdas and processors and do different things, then don't use the process at the Firehose. Instead, pipe your Firehose into a Kinesis data stream, and then we can attach consumers and all that kind of stuff. And I plan to talk more about that next week. So Firehose is powered. There's a lot going on there. All right, so I'm going to give it some buffering hints. I wanted to do buffering about every 60 seconds. I want to write out, and my size should be 1 meg. So those are some hints on how I wanted to put it in there. The other thing I'm doing is I'm doing an S3 backup configuration. And this is the bucket, same thing, bucket arn, gzip, same role, same hints. So these look very similar, but what this is going to do is this is going to write the data after I've processed it. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this is this is my backup. This is everything coming in, raw data, just dump it into the S3 straight ahead. But this is my processing. Now, if something goes wrong, my processor is going to write it off in a separate folder in my S3 folder. It's going to say, hey, these are unprocessed records. And so I'm going to have maybe some missing records. I'm going to have to hunt around and kind of put those back together. So I always have my raw collection. Storage is cheap, right? So I always have my raw collection. So I'll store that in my backup, and then I'll do my processed collection in that bucket. So that's what's happening here with Firehose. So we're dropping it to these 2 different buckets. And then the last thing we're doing is we're going to also put some data into a DynamoDB table. Now, how am I doing that? So in the Lambda processor, let's go down to our process function. It is going to trigger the process function. Now, notice I've set my timeout a little higher than most normal Lambdas. Okay, and I can go up to 15 minutes, obviously, but I've got it set at 60 seconds. And I might even go a little more on that because you have to think, I'm processing a bunch of records. So depending on how fast your data is coming in, you want to give your Lambda a little time to run this. When I tested this earlier and I was pumping it with I was hitting about 2,000-3,000 events, just rocking in, about every few seconds. It was running probably about 27 milliseconds to do. So, and I'm giving it 60 seconds, so I'm giving it some time. What is Lambda Professor? I don't know what a Lambda Professor is, but I guess it's a Lambda that wears glasses and teaches. But we have the processor as well. I'm not being sarcastic. I want to make sure I understand here. The processor, going back here, allows you to actually, every record that comes in will go through the Lambda processor in a batch. And it will send each one of those, it will send a batch of records to that processor. And it's designed to, let's say you want to add some data to it to go into the Kinesis, or you want to do something. And I'll show you the code in just a minute, so maybe that makes sense. All right, so here's my process function. And then here's my role, and I want to make sure that you watch that I'm giving Firehose access to do several things. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I want to be able to put stuff into my S3 objects. So I'm putting into my raw data bucket and my process data bucket. And notice I'm giving it first of all, I'm saying, yeah, I want you to get at that, but I'm also adding a secondary one that it can do stuff under the folder as well. So that gives me a little more access to write subfolders, different things like that. The second thing I want it to be able to do is to invoke a Lambda. So you can see here I've given it 2 separate. Now I generally split my policies out. Sometimes I'll combine them if it's one thing doing a lot, but this helps me be more granular. I could put these together. Yeah, there's so many fields. How does one know what field to use? So as we get into some of the more complicated SAM templates, and this is just straight up CloudFormation, that we documented everything under the CloudFormation. When I go to look at how is something documented, I will actually grab the type. So for instance, I can go to aws.im role, and I'll grab this, and I'll open up my Chrome, and I'll pop over here, my Chrome back up here, and I will literally just search on that and grab the documentation out of CloudFormation. It's almost always the first one. And so you can see, let me blow this up a little bit here. You can see that it explains each one. Okay, there we go. And that I can actually click on them to see what they are. So what is a role name and what's its format, and it talks all about it. And the first thing I generally do when I'm building and learning these out is I'll go through and look at what's required and what's not, and I'll build the bare minimum. I'll just add everything that says yes and kind of configure that, and then I'll come back to it. Thanks for adding that documentation there, Brett Stack. All right, so let's go back to our CloudFormation. Hello to our code. All right, so in our role, as you see, we've got some granular stuff going on. So now we should be able to launch this off. So, and it'll take a few minutes to launch. So let's go ahead and bring up, first of all, I know my profile's up because I've got my E. Johnson demo there. I'm gonna do SAM deploy, and because it's the first time, I'm gonna do the -G, or for Rob, I'm gonna do guided. I know he likes the --, so throwing that out there to you, buddy. So I'm going to hit enter, and then it's going to ask me for a few things. Let's blow this up so you can see it. So first thing, what are we going to name this? So I'm going to say Sessions with Sam Kinesis Firehose. Okay, there we go. So now I know that's my stack name. And then I'm going to do, I always go to US West 2 because that's closest to me. And finally, see here. I want to confirm changes? Nope, I don't need to do that. I do need to, however, do the SAM CLI IAM role creation. If you say no to that, you're not going anywhere. I want to save my arguments to my SAM TOML file, and off we go. Now let's see if this works. I'll tell you, and if we get to it, DynamoDB table in the resource block. Okay, yeah. So the template. Oh, just a moment. So I moved this around a little bit, so that's all right. So it's looking for, so here's how to troubleshoot. So it's looking for DynamoDB as a resource dependency. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna go back to my template. I'm gonna find what is under my Control F. I'm just gonna find that, and what is referencing that. Yeah, so in my process function, so I named my table earlier, okay? Or no, I didn't put my table in. How's it going? Let's put the table in, because, you know, we need the DynamoDB table. All right, so let's add one more thing here. All right, so under our resources, if we have to run these demos, how much would it cost? And if we don't have free tier anymore? So that's an interesting question. That's you know, as always with services, based on traffic, it's based on invocation and how much, you know, and how much traffic you're doing that. Because of the limited time of our conversation here, I won't be able to drop into a bunch of pricing, but I'm going to ask if Rob, if you'll throw the Kinesis pricing in, because that's kind of the major one we're looking at. Yes, debugging live. So I was missing my DynamoDB table. So here's my DynamoDB table. Now normally I would just do a simple table, a serverless simple table, but I wanted to add a couple things. I wanted to add in a TTL, a time to live specification. So this is kind of a cool thing in DynamoDB where I can say, I'm going to give you a parameter which has an epoch time in there, and I'm going to tell you if it's over that, I want you to delete it out. Now it's not instant. It doesn't go in and go, oh, you're over instant, but it will eventually remove those. And so kind of the idea here is we're going to drop data into a DynamoDB table, and we're going to call it our hot data. What's the latest trend on our API? And I'm only going to let it live, and I can set it here. I'm only going to let it live in my code for maybe 10 minutes. I can set it to 60 minutes. I can set it to 3 days, whatever. You can set however you want. But the idea here that I kind of wanted to show this time to live is my DynamoDB table will slowly, instead of just growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and never ending, it'll grow as data's added, but it'll also start removing stuff based on the time to live. So, all right. So what is going on here? The goal of the demo is to show you how to do analytics on API gateway REST APIs using Kinesis. The goal is really just to show you how to build a Kinesis setup in SAM. The goal of this show is to show you SAM templates. So, all right. Hopefully that answered your question. I only have one finger. That is correct. I was born this way, and there's all kinds of stuff on YouTube if you want to look it up. I have a whole series of where I talk and tell jokes and do one finger tricks and all that kind of stuff. So yep. All right. So we're coming up on time here, so let's go ahead and deploy this. So hopefully, let's see if that saved my TOML. I don't know. We'll try it. It did. Yay. All right, so let's see if that works. Pull this back up so you can see. And it looks like we are cruising now. Is there an AWS for dummies? Yeah. I see. Oh, well, is there? Yeah. You know, that's what. This isn't for dummies by any means, but that's what we're trying to do as developer advocates for serverless, is turn that kind of stuff out. There are a lot of getting started with AWS demos out there that we might be able to procure and post in the links here if we can. Also, I would encourage you to look at our serverless channel, which I'll pop in here real quick. We have a channel that we have. It's our AWS serverless channel. It's not entirely AWS, but it's AWS serverless, and that will get you. Oh, yep. Thank you. Very cool. All right. Okay. Yep. Aaron White. Shout out to Aaron White, who is a great guy and is really getting into serverless. So, all righty. Not just getting into it. Has been doing serverless for a while and has done some great things. So we are building this. So while we're building this, let me show you the Lambda, has nothing to do with Lambda, the Kinesis data generator. Okay. This is a really helpful tool when you're building Kinesis, Kinesis stacks. So this can send massive amounts of data into your Kinesis pipeline or into a data stream. So I've set this up. Now you have to install it, and you can go to the help and it'll show you how to install it. All it does is set up a Cognito stack that gives you authorization to this, and then you'll notice my link is kind of long here because it passes in all the information that's needed. So if I sign in here, what I can do is I've created a data that emulates what an API gateway would push in. Okay, so I can say, yeah, thank you, very cool. I can say the request ID and IP. It's not everything, but this is how API Gateway sends it in. And then I'm generating some random numbers. Here's a random request ID, here's a random IP, so on and so forth. So this gives me a good idea. Rather than saying, hey, I want you guys to hit this API endpoint 3,000 times each in the next 2 minutes, I can have this send just a ton of data. Yep, budget alerts are a good idea, that's true. All right, so let's see if we are built out. We are. Okay, so everything's in place here. So let me take a look and show you real quick. So if we go under Amazon Kinesis, let me actually go to into the stack here. Okay, so you can see in my stack here, the Kinesis Firehose setup. Here's my resources. And then let's go ahead and get to our Firehose real quick here. There we go. Oh, it's not going to give me a link. That's okay. So we'll just go over to, let me go to services, and we'll just go to Kinesis. Right click on this, open a new tab. And now you can see that I have under my data Firehose, I've got this information. Okay. And we're going to need this, or not need it, but we want to look at it. So if I go into our Firehose, I can see here that I'm monitoring. Nothing's happened as of yet. So we're going to go ahead and kick that off because it does take a little bit to get in. It can take anywhere from a minute to 90 seconds, which is, pretty near real time. But all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to send some data. I'm going to choose my region, which is US West 2, and it'll go out and say, all right, let me look. Yes, you do have a Kinesis Firehose. Here it is, FB7Y. Let's make sure that matches. It's my only one. It is. So let's go ahead, and the role you create when you create this will allow me to insert data. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, and then we'll all come back and answer some questions. So here we go. We're going to send data, and it's going off. And while that's running, let's see what we got here. Okay, is there a CLI-based tool? Yes, you can use a CLI to do this. I prefer SAM because this is sessions in SAM, but yeah, you can absolutely use a CLI as well. So, alrighty. Okay. So just to call out this person, the alpha person, this person has helped prepare for certifications, and we want a big thank you from Rob because Rob would never have gotten certified without you. That's not true. Rob's a smart guy for being bald. You can't judge him that way. All right, so we've sent 4,200 records into Kinesis. Let's stop, see what we've got. Let's see if it worked. Okay, so we're going to go back to our Kinesis here, and we're going to refresh our data. and nothing's coming in yet, and that's okay. Alrighty, don't panic if you see this. Sometimes it may take up to, especially the first time, it may take a couple of minutes to get started. Once it's up and running, then it's going to pipe in pretty quick. But let me tell you while we're waiting what I'm expecting, okay? So I'm also going to open, under services, I'm going to go into DynamoDB, and we'll go here, link a new tab, okay? So, get rid of this real quick, see if we've got any data yet. Nothing yet. That's all right. Okay, so what we're going to have is in my tables, I have a table called, it's automatically named. So, yeah, that's what, okay, it's this table right here. What you're going to start seeing is items being created in here, okay? Oh, there, they're already there. So this tells me we're processing, okay? So that's good news. So what we've got here is data was sent in, and you can see here 4:16, which is today, 11:25. So that's, you know, it's set for GMT, I believe. And you can see I've randomly set 200s, 400s, and here's the resource path they have. So I could build a dashboard on this data, and here's my epoch time, my TTL. So when the time passes this, DynamoDB will start slowly removing that, okay? So now that we've got that, let's see if we've got some stuff coming in here. And there we do, okay? So it doesn't look like much because it's just one data point, but we had 741.3K of data come in and 4,500 records come in, okay? So it worked. And now what we've done here, we've done several things. We've taken our data and we've dropped it into DynamoDB for instant processing. So near real-time processing that I can see. I can build heat maps, I can build whatever, okay? I could use a Dynamo stream to go out and grab geos data based on the IP, okay? So then what I could do is, and after that, the raw data is stored in my raw data bucket. The process data, anything that I do with Dynamo start and process record, and I'm piping, or I can pipe this later into a Kinesis Analytics. Now we might talk about that next week. In fact, we'll probably climb into data, the data streams and analytics, where I can start looking for errors and react on those all real time or near real time. So, all right, I hope that helped out. I'm gonna look through real quick here and see if I can answer some questions. Again, these are the purpose of this show is to help you kind of get an idea of how to do things in SAM, how to do things in infrastructure as code. Remember, I can take this now that I've built this, I can delete the stack and build it again anywhere I want. I can add parameters, I can do everything. So that's how you build a fire hose in this. So let's look at some questions. All right. Okay, thanks for the feedback. Yes, all right. I meant for, can you stay? Okay. Eric talks to Legendary. Thank you very much. Is there an overview for, I'm not sure what you're asking, so that's, I'm sorry. All right. Looks like Rob is on track though. Okay. Single digit sessions with Sam. Yes. I will be pushing this into the repo within the next probably 20 minutes, so you have access to this as well. With that, I really, really hope that helps. Hey, Fox Moves, this is recorded, so you can obviously watch it on Twitch. We'll be doing highlights on it. I'm also going to be pushing it to YouTube, so you can watch it all over. Favorite books, I'm a sci-fi reader. I'm a sci-fi fantasy. Huge fan of Brandon Sanderson. There you go. That's the kind of nerd I am. With that, I'm out. Have a great day. Sessions with Sam will be here next Thursday. Let me show you that here, where we will be talking about, again, Kinesis data streams, some more of that. Stay tuned in 1.5 hours for Express Workflows for quick running responses with my man, Rob Sutter, on his twitch.tv Rob Sutter channel. I'll be there. You be there. We'll be there. It'll be fun. All right. Have a great day, and I am out.